All right, y'all. So we definitely have to talk about this episode. I think it was one of the most beautiful pieces of television I've seen. And I'm saying this especially as a gay guy. Like the way that this relationship or a gay relationship, period, was treated on screen. It's like, yes, yes, we need more of this. More of this. Quick disclaimer, if you have not watched any of my videos before, I have not played the game Last of Us, so I am not an expert on the game. I'm not expert on the lore of the game or anything like that. I'm watching this as someone who's like entirely new to this, new to the concepts, and new to the lore, like I said. So it's like I'm just one of those consumers that HBO was aiming for that has not engaged with the game. And I mean, I know that they've changed certain things when, especially when it came to Bill and Frank and all that. I think Frank was already dead in the game or something like that. But what I'm seeing is like just so cool, you know, from the show so far is just so cool. And like I said in the intro, I really think that this is we're definitely heading in the right direction. This was so cool to see. But like stories like this is to me how, if you're going to display or show queer relationships, queer characters, treat them like human beings. Like, they're human beings. They're not just a trope. They're not somebody's handbag or a token. Like, treat them as a complex human relationships, human beings that they are, right? And this, I mean, love in a hopeless place. Like, for real, this is what it is. Anyway, let's start it out. So I kind of loved when Ellie was over here saying like she clocked Joel. She was like, look, don't blame me for something that is not my fault. Y'all made the decision to do what y'all do. Y'all wanted this battery or whatever. And it's like, it's just not my fault. And so I'm glad that Ellie said that, even though I wish she wouldn't have had to. But at the same time, Joel has been through so much. So all of that shit was misplaced. And I'm glad that he saw that it was misplaced, because he nodded when at the end of what Ellie was saying, and he was like, you know what, you're right. You know, I can act better than that. And I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that he did, because it was just, that was a lot. I was like, he was just tossing food at Ellie. I was just like, she really don't deserve that. Like, I understand that you've gone through a lot. And Joel, like, I don't know if you can find a psychologist, psychiatrist in the QZ, but my man gonna need one. Like, whoo, he been through a lot of shit. God damn. So like I said, as somebody who has not engaged with the game, I love Joel. I love when Joel told Ellie about what happened years before, how the tainted food started everything, how the soldiers would just, you know, start to kill people, and the people thought they were going to a QZ or whatever, but they were like, no, you're not going anywhere. And they used that to take us back in time and meet Bill. So Bill decided he wasn't going to be taken away like the other people were, the rest of his neighborhood. And he had his whole bunker set up. He had everything going. I was like, okay, man, okay. So he sets everything he needs up to survive, breaking into the liquor store, you know, making sure that everything was okay at the power plant or the gas plant, wherever he was going, setting up tripwire, all kinds of shit. Like, he was extremely resourceful. He obviously was in a place where he was not trusting the government even before this, apocalypse or whatever. So he was pretty well prepared, as we can see. Now that I've watched the episode a couple times, I love how this dish and the wine and the empty seat here are just all foreshadowing now, you know. So just fast forward, Bill meets this guy, we know his name is Frank, obviously, who fell into one of his traps. He says he's from Baltimore, from the Baltimore QZ, but that shit is gone now. He says he's got to go to Boston, but he's hungry. And Bill, rightfully, you know, understandably, is very reluctant. Like, all right, like, you just popping up out of nowhere. You ain't infected. Like, I don't know how much, like, I haven't seen a motherfucker in a long time. Like, you know, I get his apprehension, but he reluctantly lets him stay. Now, at this point, I hadn't played the game, right? So I didn't know that Bill was going to be a gay character or anything like that. I'm sure people, well, I guess y'all didn't know his, well, I'm sure if y'all have played the game, you know who this character is immediately. But I didn't even know they were gay or this character was gay or anything like that. But the moment, and this is why I love good writing and good TV, because the moment that, it was probably also because I'm gay too, so I picked up on it quick as fuck. But the moment that Bill brought his clothes or some clothes outside of the bathroom to where Frank was showering and shit, and the way that Bill looked at the shower door, or was just like, just lurking around a little bit before he left, I was just like, immediately, I was like, it's something gay going on. I was like, it's something homosexual going on. Homosexual. And maybe everybody picked up on it, but I knew from that moment, or people who haven't watched or who haven't engaged with the lore before, but I just knew from that moment, I was like, there's something gay, there's something sweet about this, and I love it, okay? And I love it. Seeing Frank look at the piano here is fun, because like on the rewatch, I know why he's looking over there, right? And also Bill bringing out the food feels so different on the rewatch. I'm like, oh, y'all about to make me cry. Like, y'all gotta stop. So Frank is so excited. You already see he hasn't eaten in forever, like you said. Well, 2 days, but still, that's a long ass time. Shit, I want to eat when I want to eat. All right. And then in true homosexual fashion, Frank notices that Bill knows his wine or whatever. Don't ask me the brand of the wine or whatever, but it's obvious that Frank just sees something in Bill from here, right? So look at Bill's face when Frank says, I guess I'll be going then, right? When Frank says he's gonna go, Bill's like, you probably should, but I don't really want to. You get the sense that Bill has been so alone, and as the conversation furthers, it doesn't seem like Bill has just been alone since the apocalypse started. It seems like Bill is just kind of a lonely kind of guy, or just solitude is kind of what comes to mind when I'm thinking of Bill. But it seems like I was like, oh shit, he enjoying his company. Like, he could act like he not, but I can obviously see it. So Frank goes to play his old ass piano. Now, I wouldn't be going through Bill's mother's stuff, but Frank was like, girl, I need to find something. Frank finds something of Bill's and begins playing it. Obviously, it's Long, Long Time, which is the name of the episode, name of the song, we all know. Bill then stops it, because Frank, I'm just like, Frank, what you doing? You're struggling to play this stuff. You can't. Oh, you trying to sing this shit? But then Bill ends up sitting down and decides to play and sing. And it was beautiful. It was really sweet. You can obviously tell there's an even stronger connection happening now. It's literally just like... I was about to say it's just like a night on Grindr, but I'm going to I'm not going to say that. So then he asks, like, basically, what, like, which girl are you singing about? Frank asked Bill, like, which girl are you singing about? And I love the dialogue, because all he had to say was, there's no girl. And Frank responds with, I know. And that's it. Yes, homosexual. And I ate it up. Just like Frank ate up that food. So they share a kiss. I'm just like, oh my gosh, we found love in a hopeless place. You did, in an apocalyptic place. It was so cute. They kissed. Frank tells him to go shower, and Bill does. And let me tell you something about this shot right here. I was like, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that chest. Let's talk about that body here. Let's talk about it. This looks so good. So Frank said he's not a whore. And listen, if it's one thing, I already am not worried about being no whore or whatever, or being seen as a whore. I don't give a fuck. If I want some dick, I want some dick, period. So I can't believe that Frank, and I'm talking as somebody who's not in an apocalyptic situation. Well, I guess we are. It is 2023 on this planet, so I guess we are, but not to the extent that Frank is. And Frank was talking about, oh, I'm not a whore, so if I do this, I'm gonna stay for some more days. I'm like, bitch, if there was fucking fungus zombies walking around and I want some dick from a human being, we gonna do what we gotta do. I ain't worried about being no whore. But Frank said he's a classy lady, even though he is fucking this man on the first day of meeting him. Anyway, whatever. Frank said he's a classy lady, so he's not gonna do that. He's gonna spend some more days. And from that moment, I knew that they were not gonna be leaving each other. I was like, okay, wow. So y'all are gonna be staying in each other's arms, and I'm gonna watch it. So I love how they cut to when they were arguing 3 years later. Frank wants to fix up the street, and Bill's like, come on now, who cares what it looks like? It doesn't even matter. And Frank kind of makes fun of him like, oh girl, here you go again with all these, you want to live in your conspiracy theory world where, and the government are all Nazis. And then Bill, rightfully says, the government are all Nazis. That should make me laugh, because yeah, they are. But Frank says, this is my street too, just let me love it the way I want to, and that line is obviously very important to this episode. Frank also insists that they're gonna have friends, and Bill says no, but Frank says, yeah, we actually are, because I've been talking to this wonderful lady on the radio. Bill is pissed off about that. Understandably, it is the apocalypse. Understandably. But this is how they make the Tess and Joel connection. And then we can fast forward to when Joel and Tess and Bill and them are like, we see them first sit down for the first time, right, together and eat. And Joel says, if mine brought strangers around, I'd feel the same way too, to Bill, like kind of saying like, I get why you have this gun on the table, like I understand it, but like we can help each other out. They got shit at the QZ that we can help you out with. You need I'm sure you need medicine, or you're going to shit, and you definitely need a new fence, because that shit that you got is going to be down in 1 year tops. Joel also advises Bill to be worried about raiders in the future, and Bill says, whatever, we'll be fine, it's okay. And Bill, I trusted Bill for a second. I mean, I trusted that Bill would have it just based off of how resourceful Bill was, right? But at the same time, I did not think that it would be in his best interest to ignore the things that Joel was saying, right? So skipping over, I love this scene 3 years later where Bill is running with Frank, and Bill really can't keep up with Frank. Because later, I think he said, I'm sorry for getting older faster than you. And I love how that, like, the script turned that around, because it's like, okay, I mean, at least for me, I thought that maybe Bill's health was declining very quickly. And like I said, I haven't engaged the games, so I wouldn't really know. So, right, I thought that Bill was going to be the one who would pass away first, or one. I figured that one of them, especially with how traditional media treats gay or queer relationships, even though I was very impressed to how it was being done at this point, I was just like, okay, well, maybe the death is gonna happen. One of them gonna die, and it's gonna be a very sad ending, and they just gonna mope through life as, you know, bury your gays kind of trope. Like, that's what, even though the gays were buried in this scene too, but you know what I mean? I expected one or the other to die, and for it to be a very fucking sad story. And it was sad, but it wasn't typical. It wasn't, does it make sense? I don't know. It wasn't, it definitely kept me on my toes, is what I'm saying. But yeah, Bill was talking about, oh yeah, I'm sorry for getting older faster than you, if I remember that correctly. And it ended up being Frank who had the major health issues at the end of the episode. This strawberry scene was so much fun. I loved it. It was so cute. Oh my gosh. I was like, wow, a gay relationship where they're actually complex, you know, human beings. They're actually people. They're not, you know, I don't know. It's just, we've seen so much corny shit, especially like if those of you who are queer, who are like watching me listen to this, like, y'all know what I'm talking about. We've seen so many corny ass, just unrealistic, you know, dehumanizing depiction of queer relationships. And it's like, this was so nice to see. It was so nice. So then Joel's prophecy came true. They had to defend themselves against raiders. I can't imagine waking up in this environment the way that Frank did. Like, I guess Bill had no time to tell him, like, they're outside. He just run. Well, Bill did not want Frank to get the fuck up outside anyway. So I guess that's why he didn't say shit. But waking up like that, I can't imagine that. Frank wakes the fuck up like, what the fuck? That fence was fucking him up, girl. Like, I almost thought that, because this HBO, I almost thought that somebody came down and said Dracarys or something. I thought Daenerys popped up and said Dracarys. He was burning these hoes up. I was like, God damn. Bill's out there shooting at their ass, but he ended up getting shot. Frank takes him inside and treats his wounds. And it's at this point, I'm like, okay, here comes the ending. Here comes the ending. Bill's about to die. Leave Frank all by himself, you know. Especially because Bill kept saying, call Joel or contact Joel. Joel will take care of you. I thought it was lights out for him. But I love that the story didn't end there, because it skips to 10 years later to 2023. Frank is obviously sick. He's in a wheelchair. Something's happening. He's struggling to do certain things that we've seen him do easily before. Bill is kind of taking on this caretaker role here, but Bill is just head over heels in love with Frank. They're in love with each other. Bill does not mind. Bill's just like, what's up? Like, winking at him while he's painting. It was so cute. I was like, oh my gosh, y'all gotta stop. Y'all can't do this to me. Y'all can't do this to me. So later on, Frank springs it on Bill that this day is his last day. And I was like, huh? What? And I was like, oh, he's over it. I was like, yeah, Frank is over this. And there's no doctors around. I immediately, I was like, there's no doctors today. There's no hospital. Pain is probably chronic. They're implying that Frank has cancer here. So he wants one more good day. He wants to get married. He tells Bill that he wants dinner. and pills in his wine at the end of the night to just end it all. And Bill was just like, I can't. I simply cannot. I simply cannot. I simply cannot. The crying and the acting in this scene, I was like, y'all are going to end me at what, 9:30, 10 p.m. on a Sunday. What's going on? Like, y'all are going to destroy me. Okay. And then that line pops up again. Do you love me? Then love me the way I want you to. That's what Frank says. And so they do everything. They do everything that Frank wanted to do. And I'm telling you, it was just so emotional. But when I saw Bill come in with the same place in the same way with the same wine and the same, I was just like, oh, my heart. Like, oh, my heart. I can't take this. I can't take this. Now, skipping to the part where they both drink the wine that has the pills in it, right? Well, we were made to think that Frank was the only one who's going to be taking the wine with the pills in it to end their life. And as soon as Bill drank his glass, Frank put it together. They know each other so well. Frank put that shit together. He was like, oh, so there was pills in the bottle. There was pill in the wine bottle before you even poured that shit out. You know what I mean? And Bill was like, yeah, there was. And to me, this makes so much sense because especially with the way that they were fighting or arguing before a couple decades earlier, especially with the way that Bill is so logical and how much he loved Frank. I just felt like Bill's personality just told me that he would be fighting against what Frank wanted harder. Even if he respected Frank's decision at the end of the day, I think that Bill would have fought a little harder, right? In my head, that's what I was thinking. So when it came out that Bill had also taken the pills as well, I was like, there it is. There it is. Bill was like, I'm satisfied. I'm old. I'm satisfied. And you were my purpose. I was like, oh yeah, HBO trying to get me to boohoo crying here. Like HBO's trying to get me to start sobbing in here. That's what they're doing. I love Frank's reaction. I love all their reaction. Frank was like, I do not support this. I should be furious, but from an objective point of view, it's incredibly romantic. And they start laughing because that shit it's comical. Like y'all both in a dark way, right? Like y'all both sat up here. Frank said that they were going out, and you was like, nah, I'm following you too. So it's like it's comical in a dark, sad way. It's funny. It's scary. It's it's emotional. It's just a very interesting ending to their relationship, to their interaction. Oh my goodness. It was just so sad. But it was so beautiful at the same time, right? So they go off to the room and they just go to sleep forever. Like, wow. And I know, based off of the things that I saw on social media, that this is quite a change from the original the game or the lore of the game. But from what I can also see from people's reactions and to, just from what I can see, based off of what my friends are saying as well, it seems like they expanded on these characters in a meaningful way. Like if you're going to change it to something that creates an even stronger connection to these characters for the audience, right? So this is what I'm thinking happened. And at the end of the episode, Joel and Ellie get there. Obviously Bill and Frank are no longer there. Well, they're there, but not there. You know what I mean? And I'm also glad they didn't show us the bodies. I just love the way they treated this queer couple. I really do. I'm happy they didn't show us the fucking bodies. I think the food was enough, right? Because you saw this like rotting food here. That was, to me, definitely symbolic. You had flies, flying around it. I think the food was enough. And it was a good touch. So Ellie finds the letter that Bill left. Joel puts it together very quickly. I'm sure he's like not even trying to hope for anything at this point in the apocalypse. He's just like, well, they're dead, aren't they? And Ellie says yes. Ellie reads the letter and it was dated August 29th, 2023. Bill in the letter tells Joel to take anything that he needs. He said, I used to hate the world and I was happy when everyone died. But I was wrong. There was one person worth saving. Then Ellie had to stop at where the letter said for Joel to protect Tess. Of course, that's extremely emotional. At this point, Joel has lost so many people very close to him, right? Daughter, Tess, right? And now, even though they weren't super duper close, Bill and Frank, right? But they were obviously helpful to one another. They might not have been like super duper besties and friends, and but they were obviously close. So when Joel went outside, I thought he was gonna go out there and break the fuck down, because this shit is ridiculous. Joel, that shit is hard. I thought Joel was gonna break down, and he kind of seemed like he was about to. He seemed like he was just dazed and lost and just looking for an answer, but he quickly held it together, and they got to the car or whatever. But I'm just like, Joel, at some point you're gonna need to let all that shit out. I have not seen Joel cry in a long time, and maybe he's scared to start crying because he feel like he won't stop. But Joel, you gotta let that shit out. Oh my goodness, I thought he was gonna get down there and start crying in that letter, right? So yeah, that's kind of how it ends. They get to the car. They're going to Wyoming in search of Joel's brother to get Ellie to the Fireflies in some way. Ellie finally finds herself a gun. I love how she commented that being in the car is like being in a spaceship. Oh, I can't wait to see more adventures of Ellie and Joel together. This episode was amazing. And I am biased because I'm queer, obviously. Like, I'm a homosexual, so I'm biased, but like the way that these characters were treated, it just feels good. It feels good. I'm so ready for every single character, every single queer character to be treated with the same, dignity, respect, humanity as hetero characters do, right? Or are treated. But this was amazing. Please, I'm obviously at this point I'm gonna have to keep up with the series and talk about it next week on this channel. So make sure that you're subscribed so you can get all the videos. Thank you so much for checking me out, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.